Are you confused about whether intermittent fasting can help you lose weight and improve your health? I wouldn't blame you if you are. Last week, we saw a study that showed intermittent fasting did not improve weight loss or metabolic health. And now, I want to tell you about a study that showed the opposite, that intermittent fasting did help weight loss. So what gives? Why the difference? Well, I'm Dr. Brett Scher, the medical director at dietdoctor.com, and I want to draw your attention to an article I just published at dietdoctor.com talking about this exactly. Like, what great timing that we have a study from Dr. Ethan Weiss's lab a week ago that showed no difference between the control group and the intermittent fasting group. And I wrote a piece on that to kind of explain why that may be the case, and we'll link to that below. But now, just 1 week later, we have a study showing the exact opposite, with the exact opposite headline. The previous was intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating doesn't work, which I don't agree with, and I detailed why in the post. And the new headline is intermittent fasting works, which we also have to look at the details to figure out what was going on in this study. I like details, I gotta admit. And I love how this juxtaposition of these two studies, 1 week after the other, really show how important these details are. So let's talk about them. So this one had 46 participants with obesity and at least two components of the metabolic syndrome. And they were randomized to an intermittent fasting group or the standard group. So of course, the standard group just kept eating whatever they were eating, had no intervention. The intermittent fasting group, they were instructed on 2 non-consecutive days to reduce their calorie intake by 75%. Okay, so eat 75% less than they normally would on 2 days. And then the rest of the 5 days, eat whatever you normally would. And at the end of 8 weeks, the fasting group lost 3.5 kilograms compared to 1.2 kilogram and on the control group. And the fat mass decreased by 2.4 kilograms in the fasting group compared to 0.9 kilograms in the control group. So why all of a sudden does this study show a significant weight loss difference in only 8 weeks, whereas the prior one didn't? Well, the big one is calories, right? On the prior study in Dr. Weiss's lab, the two groups ate exactly the same amount of calories. In fact, there was a trend towards increased caloric intake in the fasting group. Well, in this study, they clearly had a reduced intake. They were eating 31% of their normal calories on those 2 days. And on their normal eating days, they didn't increase the calories. They kept their calories where they normally are. So this is a big part of what intermittent fasting does. It allows you to intermittently reduce your calories. That's very different than chronic caloric restriction, where you can have problems with, your basal metabolic rate resetting and problems with long-term compliance and problems with long-term weight loss. But on an intermittent basis, it appears that it's more sustainable and more effective. This study didn't study that, but what it did show was that people are very good at complying with it, 91% compliance, and it works for weight loss, right? Not a surprise. You reduce your calories, you're going to improve weight loss, but you have to do it in a way that's healthy and sustainable. And it looks like that might be the case. This is more evidence for that. Now, interestingly, they also measured glucose and insulin, and there's a definite trend toward improvement. But when you're dealing with 23 people in each group, statistics do become problematic. There's no question about that, to pick up significant differences. But got to be honest, this trial is far from perfect. And rather than go into all the details of the problems with the trial, I linked in my post on dietdoctor.com, I linked to Nicola Guess's Twitter feed or Twitter post about this, because she did a great job. And I want to read what she titled her Twitter feed, "Everything That's Wrong with the Publishing Side of Science," also known as "How to Ensure You Get a Great Publication Regardless of What You Intentionally Plan to Test with Your Study by Ignoring What You Actually Found." So her whole point is they had 2 primary outcomes and like 15 secondary outcomes plus extra outcomes. They talked about the microbiome. They really made it a bit of a statistical mess and a data mess in all the different things they brought in. So I really caution about drawing too many conclusions from their secondary outcomes, but their primary outcome of weight loss and fat mass loss, that was pretty clear, and I think it's pretty clear why. So again, I get excited about this because I like bringing to people's attention examples of why the details matter and why the headlines don't represent those. So I hope this helps. Check it out at dietdoctor.com. And if this video helped, click like below and click the subscribe button so you'll get all these updates to hopefully help you kind of with the confusion of intermittent fasting, low carb diets, health in general, nutrition in general. We really want to kind of cut through the headlines and get to the details so you can figure out what works best for you and what matters most for you. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day.